Welcome to the Seahawkers podcast with your hosts, Adam Emmert.
Before you know it, you're going to click on the Bleacher Report app and your whole device is just going to burst into flame and it's going to yell, fire!
And Brandan Schultz.
When has Russell Wilson ever had a bad stretch of games where you go, who's our backup? We should consider putting in our backup. No, that's never happened.
Go Hawks!
Welcome to episode 163 of the Seahawkers podcast. I'm Brandan Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and joining me, my good buddy and Montana Seahawker, Adam Emmert.
Yeah, man. Came back for one whole day to Montana just to sit down and talk with you.
Yeah. I really enjoy how this is actually on your schedule to fit this in. You're making a point of it, even with your broken phone, that we're going to make this happen before you hit the road once again. This is how difficult it can be during the offseason to make these happen.
Yeah, it can be. Just for whatever reason, this thing got crazy busy these 3 weeks for me. So just in the last 4 days, I've been in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia.
Wow.
And then back to Montana.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been nuts, man.
A whirlwind for you, and not a whirlwind of news at all on the Seahawks front, but that is why we are continuing our Know Your Rivals series, and it's going to be a bit of an abbreviated show this week because of Adam's schedule, but we have on Samantha Sanders, a former Arizona Cardinals cheerleader, a current Science Cheerleader. We'll talk about what that means and get a preview of what's gone on for the Cardinals this offseason.
You bet, man. She's a great interview. You guys will enjoy that very much. So stay tuned for that.
We've gone back and forth this offseason about the Arizona Cardinals in particular, Adam, because I know you're a little bit down on them. I still see them competing for second place in this division. I just think that there were too many games where they kind of had fluky last-minute losses in the last season. I know they went out, they cut their kicker, Catanzaro, Phil Dawson, who, an experienced guy. I don't know if he's necessarily a clutch guy. He's been around a lot of different teams, but they've kind of addressed that part of their special teams this offseason. So I have to think that Arians, being the coach that he is going to focus. It sounds like he's focusing on kind of addressing some of those areas that caused him to lose games last season.
They're a super thin team, dude. Like they are so thin at just about. They are one injury away from any position group to being in crisis.
I guess the one position group of strength would. I guess I see their linebacking core being pretty good. Their
starting middle linebacker is 96 years old. That's a true fact. Look it up.
And
Carlos Dansby is ancient.
Yeah. Okay.
Chandler Jones is a good player.
And Deion Buchanan.
He's a good player and undersized. They're going to get run all over, dude, with Calais Campbell not up front soaking up the blocks. Their D-line, there's nobody that scares you up there.
Yeah, other than when they put Chandler Jones on the D-line, yeah.
Well, yeah, because he's more of a defensive end than a linebacker. Right. I mean, they play the 3-4, so I understand that he's listed as an outside linebacker. But, yeah, I mean, that's the one guy. I mean, he doesn't scare me. He's not a game wrecker. You can game plan for Chandler Jones and effectively take him out of a game.
Yeah.
Especially if there's nobody else to deal with.
I don't know if there's nobody else.
Well, tell me who. Pick a name, man. I'm not serious. Like, there's not one name on there. So you got Ndichke, or however you say his stupid name. And he's a woeful underachiever. He has been since college. You know, I mean, just a guy that you cannot count on. Corey Peters.
Yeah, Frosty Rucker. Frosty Rucker has a good name, but I don't know how. I mean, he's a cool dude.
He's 2 or 3 years past his prime. I mean, they've got him listed as third string here on this depth chart that I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Seriously, go down Rodney Gunter, Ed Stinson.
Yeah.
Xavier Williams. Look, I mean, there's just nobody there. And the only guy that you have in their linebacking crew that's backing up after Dansby, Buchanan, and technically Jones is the rookie draft pick, Hassan Reddick. He could be good, but again, he's a rookie.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of guys you've never heard of. Then you look at their defensive backfield. What you got? I mean, Marcus Golden, I guess, is a pretty good. Again, he's a defensive end, though.
No, that's the other guy I was thinking of, Marcus Golden.
He scares me more than Chandler Jones.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, he's a better player. And the defensive backfield, sure, you've got names, but they've also lost some dudes too. I mean, of course, you still have Patrick Peterson. He's figured out his diabetes thing, and that seemed to help out quite a bit. Antoine Bethea is going to play, safety. Honey Badger, who, again, how many games do you get out of Honey Badger this year? 8?
Maybe this is the season he puts it all together.
I would love that to be the case because I do like the guy, but he's Bob Sanders, man. He's just too small. He's too small for the ferocity that he plays at. And here's where it gets really scary, is with the majority of their corners. I mean, Patrick Peterson is obviously their number one, and then who?
Yeah.
I mean, literally, Brandon Williams, Justin Bethel, Tyvon Branch, the rookie Buda Baker, he's a safety. Harlan Miller, Jamal Roll. Good luck with that.
I wonder if they move Tyrann Mathieu back outside, especially, if Buda Baker can come in and show that he deserves to be part of the starting group.
Right. But there again, they're one injury away from just disaster in any position group.
The one thing that is really interesting to me about the Arizona Cardinals is where they're going to go after this season, because you have Carson Palmer. Again, he'll be 38 in December. So definitely closing in on that 40-year-old mark. And Larry Fitzgerald, who's in the last year of his contract. You have John Brown, the good Brown, between the two Browns at wide receiver, and he's on the last year of his contract. So that passing attack by the Arizona Cardinals, what's it going to look like in 2018?
It's going to look non-existent, dude, because all those dudes are going to be off the team. Carson Palmer is going to be gone. Bruce Arians is going to be gone. This is the last, they are loaded up. This is their last run with this core.
Well, if they're loading up, they need to do a lot more with their $12 million still under the cap, because I still see places where they need to try and get better before the season starts if they're going to really compete for the top spot in the division.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to, be bullish on the Cardinals, and they think that they really did address some things, especially on the defensive side. And they did spend some draft capital over there. Don't get me wrong. But again, it's just rookies, and trying to plan on rookies coming in and being the answer in the 1 year that, this is, let's face it, Carson Palmer, this is probably his last year. And then what else do you have? David Johnson. And then, Fitz, this could be Fitz's last year. Pretty easy. He was thinking about retirement this year, both him and Palmer. So I don't know, man. This is a thin roster in my opinion. And I think it's going to be tough for them to move forward. I just don't see the pipeline of young talent, especially on offense.
Well, and I think we identified for this season, one of the biggest weaknesses is the guys right in the middle of the defense on the defensive line.
Yeah. So, but they did try to bolster the defense through the draft, and I think that'll serve them well in the future.
Sure.
It's just you're not syncing up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you almost need 2 years of Fitz Palmer at peak level to sync up with the first year that you can really count on rookies to be big time contributors.
Well, with that, Adam, what do you say we get into our interview with Samantha Sanders?
You betcha, man.
It's time for the 12th Annual Podcast Awards. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, the 12th annual. And we need your vote to help get us into the finals.
Wait a second. Why do we need votes? This should just be fated that we're supposed to win this one, being it's the 12th.
I know.
Can't we just divine a trophy?
I think we first have to get the votes to get into the finals, and then we use our power of divinity to bring home the win.
Should I work with like a televangelist and send in money and like plant a seed?
Yes,
for our future success, and then it'll divine it
absolutely
into fruition.
I think that's one way to do it. I think there's multiple approaches we can take, but I like your strategy.
Okay, thanks.
But yes, we need our listeners to help out. They can go to Seahawkerspodcast.com/vote to register. We're also in the People's Choice category at the top. But if you go all the way down to the bottom to Sports and Recreation, select the Seahawkers podcast there. And you only need to vote for us one time this year. Once we're in the finals, it's up to a panel or the power of whatever divinity Adam summons to bring home the win for us. I'm
going to sacrifice a live microphone on top of a mountain. That's what I'm going to do. What could go wrong? That definitely, that definitely does it.
What could go wrong? You'll probably go down in history books just like good Ben Franklin.
You betcha.
I see you flying a kite with a microphone attached to it on the top of a mountain.
There we go. Well, we've had enough thunderstorms lately. That could work out.
Escaping the fire may be difficult afterward, but
right. I'm not thinking that far ahead. Let's be real, Brandon. That's not who I am.
But go to SeahawkersPodcast.com/vote and help put us in the finals for the 12th Annual Podcast Awards. This week, we welcome on former Arizona Cardinals cheerleader and current Science Cheerleader. And Science Cheerleaders, that's a group for former cheerleaders who now work in the STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math. We welcome Samantha Sanders to the show to talk about the Cardinals offseason and expectations for the coming season. Samantha, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. I'm really excited to be here.
So Arizona Cardinals fan and a former cheerleader. And is that kind of what sparked your interest in the Cardinals in particular, actually being a part of the organization?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I grew up a lot in Arizona after I had moved there from Philly when I was a little girl, but it wasn't until I actually joined the team that I just sort of fell in love with them. They really became like my second family. And so I was really invested in what was going on and how they were doing.
So last season, the Cardinals go 7-8-1. They finished second place in the NFC West. I would have to think, as a Cardinals fan, last year, a bit of a disappointment. What do you think happened to the Cardinals last year?
Yeah, last year was definitely a rough year, especially the year before. They were on such a high note. A lot of things just really got the best of them. Some of the players were aging, a lot of injuries happened, and we just could not recover. So I really think this offseason they've sort of addressed those problems, and hopefully we'll come back a lot stronger.
Well, you mentioned one of the problems was aging, though, and Carson Palmer definitely not getting any younger. Patrick Peterson's still kind of in that prime of his career. Larry Fitzgerald definitely getting toward the tail end of his career. For guys like Palmer and Fitzgerald, how many years do you realistically see these guys having left with the team?
Unfortunately, not many. I think quarterbacks can live a lot longer in the NFL. However, at 37, Palmer's still really up there. So he just doesn't have a lot longer left. And unfortunately, he doesn't really have an heir to the throne either. I don't have a ton of confidence in our backups, and I'm shocked that with an aging quarterback, we haven't addressed the future of our team. Fitzgerald's a totally different story. As a wide receiver, he's way past, prime age, and he's still killing it out there. I think he certainly has the talent to go a long way, but I'd say realistically, he's got maybe 1 or 2 seasons left.
So you mentioned, Samantha, a little bit about the idea that you don't feel comfortable with the backups, and it has surprised you that they really haven't done anything about it. And honestly, as a Seahawks fan, it surprised me that they haven't really done anything about it, considering Carson Palmer's injury history and all of the things that go into that. Who do you think is making that decision? Is it idea that Bruce Arians is the guy that's just super confident in Carson Palmer and being able to make it through a full season and play at a high level? Or do you think it's Steve Keim, the general manager? Or is it a collaboration? I just can't understand which one of these guys is making this decision.
Yeah, I mean, they work so well together. I feel like Keim and Arians really mesh, and they really work as a team as far as building the Cardinals. So I'd have to say they just probably haven't addressed it because they think it's not a big issue right now. They've put a lot of their chips in the defense basket, and I think it's working for them as far as that goes. They're definitely improving the defense and really building up a strong team, but they haven't really addressed this big looming quarterback problem. And I think it's going to come up, and hopefully it's a lot easier to replace one guy than it is to build an entire defensive line. So that could maybe be what they're thinking. So hopefully in the next year or two, they start thinking really hard about that.
I would think it would need to happen sooner than later. And like Adam said, I think we're just as surprised as you are. I mean, Bruce Arians just wrote a book, and it's called The Quarterback Whisperer. So when is he going to whisper a quarterback who's decent, who's younger than the age of 37?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe he sees something in our backups that a lot of other people don't. I'd hope that they're right and I'm wrong. But with Bruce Arians, you really never know. He's kind of a wild card there, so he could throw anything at us.
I think it has to do with the fact that he drank paint a lot as a kid. Like, that's the only explanation.
Did you see those stories recently about him having?
No, I haven't.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Apparently, he thought it was like a performance enhancing drink. And so you drink paint before football games.
Oh gosh.
I'm not sure that's good for you long term. I mean, I'm no scientist. Like, I'm not in the STEM fields like you are. I'm not smart. But like that to me, that seems like a bad idea. Yeah.
Yeah. My professional opinion is that is a very bad idea.
Well, there's other acquisitions that have happened and a couple other losses too. You brought up the defensive line. Calais Campbell leaves for Jacksonville in the offseason. Is there a plan there because that's a huge player to try and fill in behind? I mean, I know as Seahawks fans, Calais Campbell is one of those guys on the defensive line that you always worry about going into a game.
Yeah, I was tired of seeing him. I'm not sad to see him go.
I'm not sad to see him go either. I want to know, is there a plan now that?
But that seems like a huge leadership void, right? I mean, Samantha, is there somebody that you see not only like just replace him on the field, but replace the leadership role of it?
You can't deny the fact that Calais Campbell is a huge playmaker. I mean, with 60 career sacks, it's going to be a rough loss for any team, but I don't see it affecting us as much as everyone else thinks. The way we've built our defense is, we're really rugged and we're really robust, and we have a lot of other guys that can easily just jump right in and fill in that role and make up for that impact. With Chandler Jones and Honey Badger, they can definitely step it up. From a leadership perspective, I'm not quite sure yet. Like, hopefully one of those big playmakers will take the reins on that, but we'll just have to see how it goes.
Now, how about as far as the draft picks go this last offseason? You got Hassan Reddick in round 1. I know a lot of Seahawks fans are familiar with Budda Baker, who you got from the University of Washington in round 2. Chad Williams, who I don't know much about, and Dorian Johnson. Kind of out of those first 4 rounds, is there a guy in particular that you're really excited about going into the season?
I'll be honest, I don't follow college football quite as much, so I was definitely really excited to see them drafting defensive players and making sure they're building up that line.
Yeah.
And they kind of took that approach last year too. So based on the positions that they're drafting, they're really building up this defensive line, and they're definitely something to be feared.
It seems like the philosophy of the Cardinals is that the defense is going to continue to try and be the strength of the team. What do you think is the weakness of the Cardinals going into this season?
I definitely agree with you there. Defense is definitely our top strength and hopefully continues to stay that way. Our weakness is probably, can the offense step up? Can they put the points on the board? Can they stay healthy enough to lead the team on that side of the ball?
One of our big concerns as Seahawks fans for our team is the offensive line. And it's been so bad for so long that I'm not sure what a good one looks like. How do you feel about your guys' offensive line and what that looks like for this upcoming season, considering keeping Carson Palmer clean is probably the biggest part of you guys having success on offense?
Yeah, if we can keep Carson Palmer healthy, if Fitz stays healthy and, continues to play at the level he's playing at, David Johnson stays healthy, then I think we have a good enough offensive line. It's really just, can they do it this year?
We haven't talked a lot about David Johnson yet. What is it? Adam and I go back and forth on David Johnson because I consider him, probably in the top 5 in the league, maybe top 3 even as far as running backs go. Adam's come a long way, though. He's now brought David Johnson up into the top 10. I know. It's not.
What? I could have him below the top 10.
You could.
Okay, yeah.
Honestly, I'd be interested to know what 10 running backs you could possibly put in front of David Johnson. It definitely depends on what you're looking for in a running back. If you want an all-around guy, someone who's good in the run and pass game, he's absolutely top 5, hands down. There's a reason why he's number 1 in fantasy football. Because he can put the points on those fantasy boards. Yeah,
I mean, and that's fantasy football, not real football. I'm just not a fantasy person in any aspect of my life. But basically, with David Johnson, I mean, he's the type of guy to me that I look at. A lot of people will say he'll have, kind of a nice run where he breaks a couple tackles and, he's like beast mode. And then, he'll catch a ball out of the backfield. He's like Marshall Faulk. And it's like, No, he's not at all like Marshall Faulk. I mean, he's not even close to the receiver Marshall Faulk was. He doesn't run his bruising or anything like that, even close to, say, somebody like Adrian Peterson or Marshawn Lynch. I think he's a very, very good back. He does everything pretty well. I don't know what he does that's great. I don't see him as having breakaway speed. I don't think he has great vision. I think he has very good, again, just very good across the board.
Yeah, and that goes back to, are you looking for an all-around running back? As an all-around guy, I think he's your guy. I think if you're looking for like a hard-hitting, heavy runner, maybe not. It just kind of depends on what you're looking for in a running back.
I like how Adam compares them to like all these Hall of Fame type players.
Well, this isn't me. This is what happens during the broadcast. I mean, something happens and Chris Collinsworth goes, whoa, he's like, Marshall Faulk, he like freaks out. He does that grunt thing that he does.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, people with the hyperbole. I mean, I'm sure you could agree with us on this, Samantha. I mean, Todd Gurley hype train last year. I mean, good freaking God. I mean, he was Walter Payton. Like, I mean, that was all anybody talked about, is how amazing he was. Oh, and lo and behold, he stunk last year. I mean, I just think people overhype some of these guys a little much in the division. Look, I think that David Johnson is probably the best starting running back in the NFC West. I think if Thomas Rawls can put together a healthy season, he'll give him a run for his money on that. But right now, yeah, he holds the belt. I'll give you that.
Coming together on this, Adam.
Yeah, I'm trying to be nice. I mean, look, it's just the Cardinals I'll tell you straight up, Samantha, out of all the teams in the division, my sports hate is by far the highest for the Cardinals. So, like, yeah. I don't like Arian's stupid hats. I don't like all his rah-rah stuff and his crazy speeches. Like, I don't know. I'm just not a fan. The only thing that I'm really a fan of, I love Larry Fitzgerald, man. That man is what it means to be a man. I don't know anybody who's done it better with more class than Larry Fitzgerald. That's the one shining star. And actually, Honey Badger's starting to grow on me the more I hear him talk.
I was going to say, if you don't throw Honey Badger in there, I can tell you have a little bit of something for him too.
Yeah. I think he's legit, like a legit dude. So like it's better, but that's only two guys. I mean, the rest of them, I can't stand it.
So Samantha, with you having been around guys maybe more closely than any other fan, are there any particular players that you kind of gravitate toward as maybe being your favorite player, or having been involved?
Actually, everyone is surprised to learn this. We don't spend a lot of time with players. It's actually against a lot of NFL team rules to just hang out with them. But we do get to see them a lot at different appearances and events where we have to interact with fans as a team. And, I think a lot of the guys on the team are really stand-up guys. Fitz was always, really involved with what's going on and everything. I haven't cheered in a while, so I feel like a lot of the players are gone. But yeah, I think a lot of the guys that they recruit are just really good stand-up guys, not something like you would see on the Cowboys or something.
I like the little bit of Cowboys hate in there.
Yeah, because that might be my number one sports hate team right there. So yeah, I like a little Cowboys dig in there.
Is that your number one sports hate team too, Samantha?
Possibly. I think Giants are definitely up there, but Cowboys for sure. I lived in Texas for 3 years, so it was really, really painful just being around them. And my whole family is from Philadelphia, so that's just really ingrained in my background.
So how competitive is it between the different cheer squads, like of the different teams? I mean, are there some animosity? Are there some rivalries like within that? Like when it comes out, because you have Pro Bowl selections and things like that as well. So I was just curious if there was any rivalries there.
Actually, not at all. We love each other. It's so opposite as far as when we're rooting for the actual football teams and the actual games. For sure, there's rivalries and we'll hate on a team or love a team. But when it comes to just the cheerleaders, especially when they come together at Pro Bowl or, sometimes captains will visit each other, there's like nothing but love between them because we're just sharing what we love to do, which is to dance and to engage with the fans and volunteer at events and stuff.
I have to say, Samantha, after putting my daughter into dance this last year, I have just a whole nother level of appreciation for cheerleaders, because you watch you watch, 7, 8, 9-year-old, even up through high school, the ones that have done it for, almost 10 years now, you're like, yeah, they get pretty good. They can be really well coordinated. But then you see cheerleaders on a professional level, and it's a whole different level.
Yeah, it's different for sure. Dancing on grass is different. In my time, we actually had like really high-heeled boots. The lucky team now has downgraded a little bit. So it's definitely a challenge, and it's definitely learning how to perform in such a big arena. It's very different, but it's so rewarding and it's so much fun, and we all love what we do.
All right, Samantha. So you're the last of the rival people that we've brought on the podcast over the last few weeks. And we've asked each and every one of them to give the outsider view of the Seahawks coming in as somebody who is a division rival for you guys. How do you see the season going for the Seahawks, and in your overall opinion of where the roster is and where the team's going?
I think the Seahawks have a really strong potential to be a contender. To be honest, I feel like the last couple of years, and for probably the next couple of years, it's between the Seahawks and the Cardinals is really contenders in this division. I think the Hawks have a great defense. However, they're aging. What's the plan? Like, how are they going to build a robust team to recycle them? If they can get over the injury bug that they had last year, they're going to be unstoppable. If Wilson can stay healthy, if Earl Thomas can get healthy, you guys have a really strong team, I feel.
Okay, well, let's get into win-loss prediction for the Cardinals. I know, Adam, I don't want you to spoil this because I know you're really down on them. And we went through this on one of our recent shows. We went through the Cardinals schedule. I want to see what you think, Samantha. If you were to make a prediction for the Arizona Cardinals going into this season, about what kind of win-loss record are you looking at?
If everything goes according to plan, I think they'll have at least a 10-win or better season, if I'm being super conservative. Hopefully they have a lot better record than that, but I think they could definitely make a huge improvement this year.
Because one of the things I've heard from Bruce Arians in this offseason is that there were a lot of games last season where it was, some kind of boneheaded mistakes or special teams issues, and you guys got rid of your kicker and brought in a new kicker, Phil Dawson, who's, I think he's the one guy on the team who's older than Carson Palmer. And but there was definitely that look to get better in that particular area. Like, I'm thinking special teams in particular. We had a game, you remember last year, where it went into overtime and we finished tied 6-6. Like, how often does that even happen?
Definitely not often. I always remember the Cardinals as the Cardiac Cardinals. When I was cheering, they were not very good. We had a ton of overtime games, ton of, uncertainty throughout the games. It was really stressful. So, I think last year they just kind of went back into their old ways. But I think Arians is a great coach. When you see him interacting just with his team, you can just tell there's a different level of, coach-player relationship there. So I definitely think he has the tools to make that team better, and I think he will.
All right, Samantha. Well, I really want to thank you for coming on the show this week. Can you tell us a little bit about being a science cheerleader? I mentioned that when I gave your intro. You're now working in the STEM fields, and you're a former cheerleader. So it's a group of former cheerleaders that form this group. How did it get started, and how are you involved?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually have a founder. Her name is Darlene Cavalier. She was actually a 76ers cheerleader. And then, she also works in STEM, and she's worked in STEM forever. And she just started this group. And just recently, we got our 501c3 status. So, we're really excited to reorganize ourselves as a nonprofit and open ourselves up to events across the country. What I do is I help with a lot of strategic initiatives about the future of our organization, as well as a lot of national event planning and trying to recruit new cheerleaders and find other people like myself and the other girls that we work with who are cheerleaders and then also have a STEM career. And it's really inspiring to read about what a lot of these women are doing.
Well, anytime you need some promotion on that sort of thing, Samantha, definitely let us know, because as Brandan knows, and all the listeners know, I'm a gigantic science nerd. I love everything science. Neil deGrasse Tyson should be president, in my opinion. And so basically, I think it's amazing. And especially people like you, I think are great role models. I mean, my daughter just started cheer this year and is also very science minded. And I think that's definitely the fields that she'll be going into. So knowing that there are other people out there where you can point out and be like, yeah, so you can actually do it all, I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. That's what we try and do. You know, we have events all the time, all over the place. And we just try and do activities with kids and just show them, you know, you can cheer and you can dance and you can also be an engineer. And there's nothing wrong with that.
All right, Samantha. Well, I appreciate you coming on, talking a little bit about Science Cheerleaders, talking about the Cardinals this upcoming season. And we'll be rooting to take you down twice this year.
Thanks, guys, for having me. It was really fun.
Thanks once again to Samantha for coming on the show and breaking down the Arizona Cardinals as we go into the 2017 season. And coming up after the break, we're going to talk about why Darrelle Revis isn't with the team, Adam. And also we have some listener responses to our breakup note that we read last week.
Oh, did we really?
We did.
Okay. All right.
So we'll get into those.
Did we get broken up with more?
No.
No? Okay. All right. Because those things can come in threes, you know? So, like, I was starting to get worried there for a second.
No, not this week.
Okay, cool.
And we are getting into our second half of the show. Go to Seahawkers.org to become a member of a Seahawkers chapter. I went there just this past week. And just to let you know, Adam, just how easy it was, because it was time for our annual renewal for our club membership in the Montana Seahawkers. And I went to Seahawkers.org and signed up for my family membership right on the site. I signed you up for your renewal. It was super easy and just a couple clicks from the homepage.
Yeah, and it makes you exponentially cooler just by doing it. So, I mean, help out your Hakra, help out the organization, and get in touch and become one of the Seahawkers so that you have that extra group of Seahawks fans in your life. It's not going to make it worse, that's for sure.
No, it'll only make it better. We had that discussion about the offensive line and it seems like we always have discussions about the offensive line, Adam.
I've been trying to move off this topic. So
I know you have, but I can't help but notice it when I'm doing research on the Cardinals because I'm curious just to see where they come out in terms of what they tend to pay guys in terms of their offensive line. And I'm looking on SpotTrack.com, and yes, it's SpotTrack.com,
no,
not
it is not.
SpoTrack.
What is it tracking, Brandon? Is it tracking sports salaries or Sparts salaries?
Well, then the owner named it wrong.
I'm just asking, which one is it?
I heard an interview with the owner of the website.
No,
the creator of the website calls it SpotTrack.
No,
yes,
I feel betrayed. All right, man, you were right and I was wrong.
I know.
I'm the worst. You're good looking. I'm unattractive. You're smart. I'm dumb.
I'm glad we settled it.
All right.
And while I was on there, the one thing that jumped out at me, the Seattle Seahawks, not only do they have the lowest paid offensive line, they pay the fewest players. There's only 12 offensive linemen that they're paying. The NFL average is 15 players and about $30 million. 20% less for the number of players. And then the salaries half as much at about $15 million versus the $30 million average.
Yeah, I have no idea why you would want three more dudes to come in and compete at the position that keeps your quarterback from getting killed. I don't understand why you would want that. 15 is a waste. That's just too many dudes. That's too many dudes. Why would you want that? The Seahawks,
yeah.
I mean, this is efficiency. This is efficiency.
The fewer guys that you have to cut when it comes down to cutting from 90 down to 53, right?
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to feel as bad.
Well, maybe Cable just really doesn't like having to go into the meeting with those guys.
Maybe that's it. Maybe their meeting room only holds 12 dudes.
Oh, now this is something we haven't considered.
Right. So
because you can't have a meeting room because offensive linemen are big dudes.
Yeah, they take up a lot of space. Well, in theory,
you don't want to make the meeting room super uncomfortable throughout training camp.
Right. So, I mean, I can't argue with the philosophy behind the way that we're doing this offensive line one bit. Although I will say this, though, Brandon, I was on the road with Jared this week.
Yeah.
And we were caught, what is it? A football life of the Great Wall of Dallas. And they were talking about that really awesome offensive line that propelled them through their first couple Super Bowls there in the 90s.
Yeah.
And if you go back and you listen to the story, it's like this dude was a 7th round draft pick nobody wanted. One dude was an actual D-line convert. Like, you go down the list and it was like, that sounds like the Seattle offensive line.
Really?
Oh, I'm a big time, man. It was hilarious. Like Jared and I were cracking up. I was like this. I think Tom Cable probably catfish in his pants if he watched that. He's like, yeah, that's how you build it. That's how you do it.
That's how you do it.
So it was interesting.
Any tight end converts?
No, that was the one thing that was different. But again, it was a bunch of misfits and outcasts that came together for their early runs there.
Yeah.
That was considered the Great Wall of Dallas and gave them a lot of success. So I guess there is a model that shows that this can be successful, as much as I have said up and down that there is no possible way. I'll revise that. There is a possible way, but it has happened once in the last 30 years. I don't know like what the cycle of that is. If it's like a once in every 100-year event or 5,000-year event, I'm going with about 5,000. I think that's about where we are.
But you're saying there's a chance.
Saying there's a chance.
Well, one thing that jumped out at me when I was looking at this list, because I was trying to see if there was any correlation between offensive line spending and team success.
Okay.
And it doesn't look like there is at all.
No.
And another thing that jumped out while I was looking at it is the Dallas Cowboys. Where do you think they are in paying their offensive line? Because that's one of the teams that we point toward and say, yes, that's a solid offensive line in the NFL.
It's not much because they're all on rookie deals.
Number 22 behind the Patriots at number 21.
Yeah. So see, that's what happens when you spend high draft capital on offensive linemen that can really play. And you put them all together out there, you have a great line for 4 or 5 years. That for next to no money.
Right.
So, I mean, that's how that works.
But you can't. But you can also look at the Seahawks and say they've drafted more players than any other team on the offensive line in the past 4 or 5 years.
That's the point. That's the point. The
it's
majority
always been
of them
the
are,
first round, and with the Cowboys, a lot of their guys they've gotten top 10.
That's exactly right. So that's a big part of it right there. Is that they spent a lot of draft capital more or less on it, but a lot of people look at those lower round picks as kind of a throwaway, especially when you're looking for the rarity of having a really large man that moves really well. And you can put those two things together. So, yeah. And then couple that with having experience as well at the position. So, yeah, I mean, it's that's the way that you would have to do it if you're going to build a team like the Seahawks have built, where it's really top heavy in contracts on, both the defensive side of the ball and at quarterback. That's how you'd have to do it. But instead, we've done things like trade for Percy Harvin and Jimmy Graham. So, I mean, would you have rather not made those two trades and have two at least mid-tier linemen on your offensive line right now to go with Justin Britt?
Yeah, it's tough to say.
You're only plugging two holes now?
Yeah.
But again, hindsight's 20/20.
But even just looking at the top 7 or 8 teams, really the only teams that stand out is really paying their offensive linemen. The Pittsburgh Steelers pay a little over $39 million for their offensive line, and they're under the NFL average of 15 guys. They have 14 players. And the Oakland Raiders have 16 guys, and they're at $43 million. So 2 teams that, and for what the Steelers pay, Ben Roethlisberger should not be getting hurt every single season, which seems like every other game.
That's been his whole career. Now he's old. Like, I mean, that's who he is. He's a little brittle, But
it just goes to show you can pay a ton of money too. And Ben Roethlisberger hurt a lot. Derek Carr got his leg broken toward the end of the season with the Raiders. So even if you pay a premium for your offensive line, it does not guarantee quarterback protection.
Well, no, nothing is guaranteed, but it up your odds quite a bit, don't you think?
A little bit.
Okay.
I mean, the Cleveland Browns pay almost $50 million for their offensive line, and they can't keep a quarterback on their team to save their life. But that seems more like an organizational problem.
Yes, absolutely it does. And plus, look, I mean, Russell Wilson is very durable. He's proven to be a very durable quarterback. If you could cut his hits down in half, you're going to have him for a heck of a long time.
Well, Adam, what do you say we get into welcoming some new members of the flock?
All right. I love this part. Yes, let's welcome some new members.
All right. Welcome to the flock to J. Allen Nelson, who's in our new $5 tier.
Ooh, nice. That's a solid name too. It sounds a little like David Allen Coe. I don't know. It just has that
a ring to it. Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
And then a welcome to the flock to Eric Hipke. He's in for stickers and the bonus episodes.
Awesome. Hey, thanks a lot, Eric. And we'll be putting out more bonus content here closer to the start of the year. So I hope you enjoy that.
And also Brandan from San Diego. He gave us a raise and sent along a little note.
Oh, cool. Well, thanks for the raise, man. I hope we earn it.
He says, I just finished episode 162 and heard that catfish review from that fatty ass head.
That's decent play. Decent play on words there. Yeah.
I bumped up my pledge to let you know you guys are awesome. I'm also going to leave you a fantastic review and throw in a vote for the podcast awards. Thanks for keeping us out of town 12s in the loop. Go Hawks.
Dang, that's the trifecta right there.
I know.
Get a raise, a good review, and a vote. Man, talk about a listener who's doing better.
His Hakra is strong.
Yes.
And then we also, this one I should have mentioned last week, and I don't know how I missed it, but Kevin Stingham, welcome to the flock.
Yeah, welcome to the flock, Kevin, and a belated welcome. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes Brandan usually does a really good job at this, and somehow it both just went right across our radar.
Well, we welcomed him in the Ring of Honor, just not formally on the show.
Oh, well, there we go. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, we talked to him on the Ring of Honor page, is what you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
But yes, so welcome to the flock to Kevin. And Kevin sent along a note, says, gentlemen, I'm very excited. I found this awesome podcast, and I'm proud to be a new member of the flock. # greatest podcast ever. See, this would have been a great note to go along with the review from last week. But no, I put it off to this week.
That's okay.
He says, can't believe I've been a Hawks fan since the mid-'80s and never stumbled on this before. Here is my one question for your expertise. With Shed out at the beginning of the season and the Hawks likely relying on unproven Griffin, who looks good, by the way, it's just tough to be a good starting rookie corner. Do you think if Griffin struggles, there's any way or there's any chance we could or we would try to free up enough cap space and sign Darrelle Revis to the LOB to start week 1 opposite Sherman? Hopefully this question doesn't tick off Adam suggesting we sign anything other than O-line.
How dare you?
I just think it would be entertaining to see the combo from Kevin.
Kevin, no, that doesn't light my hair on fire, but I do. I mean, I looked at Darrelle Revis play last year, and his play really dropped off. You know, Father Time runs a fast 40, and he caught up to Darrelle Revis, and you can't outrun him. And I think that was the year. There could be a possibility you see him come in. I don't know what the veteran minimum is, but Darrelle has made a lot of money being basically a mercenary for the majority of his career, going almost year to year on his contracts. So if anybody could afford to take a extreme pay cut to play, I don't know if he's that motivated. And, you know, he did move all over the field for the Jets, so he could probably play right corner. But are we convinced that he's better than Jeremy Lane if Griffin doesn't come through?
Well, like you mentioned, it's hard to predict what some of these vets like Revis, would he even take less money or be would he be responsive to the type of coaching in the Seahawks system? Mm-hmm. And, you brought up the idea of coming in the veteran minimum, but here's how I understand the Revis contract situation right now. Revis is guaranteed $6 million this year based on his contract with the Jets. If he signs for more than $6 million, then the Jets don't owe him anything. If he signs with another team for like $3 million, then the Jets have to pay the other $3 million.
Oh,
and if he doesn't sign with anybody, he gets that $6 million from the Jets. So the way it's structured, I would have to think that $6 million would have to be the starting point for any contract for Revis, because if you're Revis and you can get $6 million for sitting at home on the couch, you have to be pretty motivated. I would have to think that Revis has put in enough work to have that Hall of Fame career. He's not one of those guys where you go, oh, you need to see a couple more years out of him before you can guarantee a spot. No, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. So if you're at that point in your career, I just don't see him signing for anything less than $6 million.
Dude, give me $6 million to sit on the porch. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be tough. I mean, I guess he's never, or I guess he has won a championship. So what else is there for him? I don't know that there really is. I mean, and who's going to pay him more than $6 million for the type of play that he, performed at last year? I don't know that anybody's willing to go out on a limb for that. I mean, there's a reason he's not on a roster, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it'd be an extreme long shot. I don't think that's happened, but with the idea that if he did get the itch to play,
right,
and say things just went totally haywire for the Hawks there for a couple games, say, both Griffin and Lane get injured and, Nico Thorpe disappears in the witness protection program somehow, or, you know what I mean? Like everybody disappears,
right,
and you got to find somebody. You could pay him the veteran minimum. He's still going to make $6 because the Jets are going to pick up the rest. So that at least is kind of nice.
Right. If you're in competition for a championship and something happens that would seem like a mid-season acquisition more than anything, more than a beginning of the season one.
Yeah.
But the Seahawks right now have a little over $8 million in cap space. So to expect them to pay anything more than $6 for Revis, I think that would be really difficult to fit in with the cap right now.
I could see him being a Dallas Cowboy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because they have issues in their secondary.
Yeah, they lost everybody.
Yeah,
like all of them.
I don't know if they have enough cap space for him either.
Oh, Jerry Jones can always find a way.
He can find a way. Yeah, that's true. I guess when you're paying your quarterback, a third rounder or fourth rounder salary.
Yeah.
All right, Adam. Let's get to some reviews, and we have one email, and we're going to skip Do Better this week, but we'll get into our Better at Life. Okay. First review here from the other Brandan. This is this is Brandan in San Diego.
He did indeed leave a review.
Yes.
Yeah, leave a review. All right.
He said, the absolute best. If you are a Seahawks fan, you need to be listening to this podcast. Funny and informative with hosts who know what they're talking about. Get in the flock and go Hawks.
Hey, thanks, man. I mean, he clearly picked up on the fact that that's the part that really rubbed me the wrong way. That's something that I could have given or taken. But come on, man. You can disagree with what I say, but it's not uninformed.
And this one via the Canadian iTunes store, Dame to Kill says, best damn Seahawks podcast, period. A perfect blend of knowledge, quick wit, humor, and just plain doing better than Skip Bayless. Adam and Brandan bleed blue and green. True 12s, no doubt. The Seahawkers podcast is the Vince Lombardi of football podcasts. So get in the flock. Go Hawks.
Man, what was the username again?
Dame to Kill.
Dame to Kill. With a slick username like that, I shouldn't have doubted that would be such a killer review. Hey, the Lombardi Trophy of podcasts. That's got a ring.
I like that. We might have to use that.
I almost want to hijack that for the beginning of every show.
Yeah.
Maybe if we win the podcast awards, if you guys are cool enough to help us get into the finals and we win. Well, when we win, then we can toss that up there.
The Vince Lombardi of football podcast. Yeah, definitely.
I like that.
All right. And one email before we get moving on. This one is from Mike. It says, gentlemen, this week you read a review from a listener who was breaking up with you. One of his reasons was that he felt you ask for money too often. I'll admit it isn't my favorite part of podcasts when they ask for money. However, you have the following options if a podcast doesn't ask for money. 1, you have a decent show, but it's hard for the podcasters to afford good sounding equipment. Often these podcasts have inconsistent quality levels, and the podcasters aren't as regular in releasing material. 2, the show is backed by ESPN, CBS, or some other major organization, which loses the advantages of listening to an independent podcast. Also, they even have regular podcast drops and plugs for products that cost money. Mike goes on to say, my second favorite podcast, second to you guys, of course, is The Fantasy Footballers. It's a good show with a staff of people who make their living off that show. But even they have to ask for money, sell products, and do ads for other products if they want to keep the lights on. It's a reality that your show costs money to run. This stuff isn't free. I'm assuming you guys have sunk in far more money into this show out of your personal pockets than you have gotten back from donations. Unless the listeners want to hear annoying commercials or constant love reads for products, we'll have to listen to the weekly pitch for donations. At least it isn't as bad as public radio, which often shuts down for 4 weeks a year for pledge drives. I appreciate your hard work. When my family's finances aren't so tight because of my second foray into graduate school, I'll donate some money to help pay for the time, effort, and money you guys have invested over the past few years. Thanks for everything, from Mike.
Thanks, Mike. And thanks for the reality check, man. Because, I mean, that is the long and short of it, right, Brandon? I mean, we live in a capitalistic society. It's not like we're just, everything's free, so we don't have to worry about, bringing in some money. And, like I mentioned for that review, it's like, forgive us to dream of making this a living rather than a hobby.
Yeah, the fantasy footballers, they started at the bottom. They're all working jobs, and now they've made podcasting their job, and they're living the dream.
Right. And honestly, Brandon, is it our favorite thing to do?
No. What did it take us? 2.5 years, I think, before. And really, we started it because Flocktimus Prime said, you guys should do this because I would like to help.
Right. Exactly.
We shouldn't stop people that want to help.
But we do appreciate all of you that do donate to the show. Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. Those of you who haven't donated yet, you need to do better. So just looking at you, that's all.
Looking at you.
Yeah. If you're like Mike and you're like, hey man, I'm a little strapped right now. I get that. Going to grad school. Good for you, man. Improve yourself. You know what everybody can do? You can write reviews like that, or what we don't ask you to do often enough, share the show. Share it on your timeline. Share it with a friend on their timeline on Facebook. Toss it up on Twitter. Whatever it is, man. Share the show, because the more that it grows, the better it is for everybody. So that's definitely, that's not asking for money.
Yeah, share the show, or even share podcasting. A lot of people don't even know how to get a podcast on their phone. I saw a thing now. Google finally came out with a way for, if you have an Android phone, you can finally just be able to, there's a Google Assistant. And you can ask the Google Assistant to play I think all you have to do is say play Seahawkers podcast. And wow. And now if you have an Android phone, so if nobody knows how to access their Google Assistant, maybe just show them, and that's one way to get the show.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I didn't know that they did that. It's getting scary out there, dude.
I know. It's these virtual assistants. It's
the rise of the machines, man.
We talked about this last week, not Rise of the Machines.
I know. Are you sure about that?
Mike sent in a PS, too. He said, a few years ago, Adam pitched the idea of a drunk off-season show for you guys.
Yes. Thanks for not letting that die, Mike. Yes.
If my memory is clear, Brandan didn't fully disagree. I mentioned this in my last email to you guys. I'm going to keep asking for it until you treat the fans to a show with you guys liquored up.
I like it, man. Keep on it. Let's hold Brandon's feet to the fire. Come on, it's gonna be fun.
It's an unofficial Patreon goal. I think what were we at? 1,200 members of the flock. So just 1,000 more to go. Get there eventually.
I like how you put that way up there, just so you know. So you would never have to do it.
Like he said, I didn't fully disagree.
Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid.
Just saying, it's good to have goals, and my goal is 1,200 members.
Yeah. Okay. All right,
Adam. Well, let's get on to Better at Life this week.
My Better at Life this week is for Brian at Verizon in the Southgate Mall. Why? Because Brian kicks ass at his job. And I'll tell you exactly what I'm talking about here. Brandon mentioned that my phone was broken at the top of the show. While I was in Georgia, it just decided that it wasn't going to charge anymore. It was just over it. It was done. It gave up the ghost, committed phone suicide. And now it's with all the other iPhones in the sky. But so a couple of weeks ago, my daughter had broken her phone. She had dropped it, shattered the screen. Turns out we have insurance for it. And I was like, all right, go in there, just pay the deductible and everything, right? No, this was a gigantic process. First off, Verizon doesn't even deal with themselves, or at least the dude at that time told me, and said, nope, you got to go to this company called Assurion. Got to go on their website. So I go on their website, go on there. You got to download forms. Then you got to print them off. A lot of people don't even have printers these days. Like, hello, me. You got to print it off, fill it out, scan it, upload it back on, then take a picture of your driver's license with all that pertinent information on there, with a handwritten claim number underneath the driver's license, and upload that as well. Take a DNA sample and proof of your grandmother's immigration to America, and then finally, voila, you'll get your stupid phone in the mail. And then you got to do a whole bunch of other ringamarang to get the phone activated and all this stuff. It was a 1.5 week long process to get this done. And not only that, but after doing all of that, I wrote down iPhone 6S, and it was an iPhone 6. And even with the serial number and everything on there, they denied the claim. I had to start the whole freaking process from scratch and do it all again. Just a bunch of catfish, man. Just so frustrating. So I go into Verizon today, knowing that this is going to be a problem. being like, because if the phone isn't physically on the account when you make the claim, they'll deny the claim. So I have my old phone and I'm like, look, I want to activate this phone. I have 1 day. I need to activate this phone. I need to do an insurance claim on this one, but they're not going to accept it with the phone, my old phone activated. It's like, no problem. We'll give them a call and we'll get all this sorted out right now. And a 1.5 week long freaking process that it took me to do the last phone took 20 minutes because Brian was on his catfish. He was awesome. When he was all said and done, I asked for his boss to come out. I was like, man, I don't care whatever it is you're paying him, double it. The guy deserves everything that's coming his way, a promotion, something, because he's awesome at his job. So Brian at Verizon, you are awesome, dude. You are better at life than Skip Bayless.
Not only does he deserve a raise, but he gets the high honor of being better at life than Skip Bayless this week.
I know. I was just really impressed. That's customer service, man. Like the last dude that I went in there to do all this with, he didn't offer to call up the insurance company for me. Oh, you had to fill out. The other thing you had to do, you had to fill out an affidavit about what happened to the phone and have it signed. Like I worked in insurance. You don't even have to do all that crap when your house burns down. Yeah, but you make a cell phone claim. And, it was a big problem. So I just went in there and Brian's just like, oh, yeah, well, I can call it in for you, man. We'll just get it all done right here. Really? It was amazing. Other dude didn't do that for me. He was just like, nope, go online, do all that. Meh.
Man, that must show you how breakable cell phones are. If it requires that much work to or maybe the cell phone insurance industry is just making a boatload of money with all the forms in the way.
Straight cash, homie. That's what's happening. Yeah. I mean, how many people got discouraged after sending in a DNA sample? A lot.
I know. Yeah.
No, but seriously, the idea that I have to take a picture of my driver's license and send that in to them, that makes me wholly uncomfortable, man.
Like you said, my car got totaled once, and I don't think you don't have to send in a copy of your driver's license to your insurance company even.
No, you walk in and you be like, dude, I busted up my car. And they go, okay, we'll send our adjuster to look at it, say whether it's totaled or not, and how much they're going to give you, and then they cut you a check.
Yeah.
Like, that's how it goes.
Right.
It's easy. Yeah. Yeah. No, you didn't need to fill out an affidavit about how you totaled your car, did you?
No.
This is a cell phone. Brian made it all better, though.
Brian made well done, Brian. All right, my better at life this week is for former Seahawks linebacker Chad Brown, one of the top 5 linebackers, I think, in Seahawks history. And I think he gets forgotten a bit, just primarily because he wasn't drafted by the team. He's drafted by the Steelers, came over to the Seahawks in free agency, and then he didn't necessarily finish his career as a Seahawk either. He went off and finished with New England, but he had a long tenure as a Seahawks linebacker and one of the top sack leaders for the Seahawks. And, one of the top guy, I think he's still the linebacker with the most tackles than any Seahawk in history. So it was cool to see this last week that Chad Brown was inducted into the University of Colorado Athletic Hall of Fame. Just to see a former Seahawk, Chad Brown, who played with Colorado from 1989 to 1992, inducted into his college Hall of Fame. Very cool to see, and the reason why this week, Chad Brown, better at life than Skip Bayless.
All right, man, I agree. You know who needs to do better?
What's that?
Me.
Oh,
I haven't been recording this whole time.
Well, the good news, Adam, with your do better there.
Yeah,
we're still going to be able to do the show because I'm recording it.
Yeah, I know. That's because you are better.
You got a lot going on with your phone and being back in town. I understand this is hard.
Yeah, retainers, grinding stones, all sorts of stuff. There's all the errands. You bet. Yeah.
But, we will be back in another week. We've got a lot of interviews lined up for the next few weeks. I'm excited about having some of these folks on the show, and all of them, really. And I think it'll be a good lead up to this 2017 season. I'm getting excited. It's getting close.
It is getting close, man. So I'm excited about these interviews. I don't even think you've told me about everybody here.
I'm keeping it on the DL.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. So nice tease. I'm excited now. I hope you all are excited too. Sorry we had to cut this one short a little bit this week. It's just a whirlwind of a day. Fly in, fly out. Next week will be a little better. And then after that, I'll be back home for an extended period of time. So it's gonna get better.
I know. Like you said, even with your phone going down, now we can't even use our road recording gear with your phone going down, going back to
I know. And the crazy part is the new phone will be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I'll be on an airplane. Gone. Yeah. So it just doesn't quite work out. But it's all going to buff out in the end.
It's all going to buff out, and we're all going to be a lot happier once the season starts.
Absolutely. Can't wait. And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
I can't wait. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.